All this is Dr. Mabeen Sayed. Welcome to one more show. Thank you very much for being here. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving. I saw Bambi that she was taking off early, so um, Bambi, have fun. And then Lisu said about my shoulder. So yeah, today somehow when I'm drawing, I just become very stiff when I'm drawing. And so my shoulder was really, this shoulder was really hurting because I was sitting like this and drawing. I just need to fix my posture. so so that is what was happening. Okay, so Anthony says, thanks again for excellent content. Vaccine SP have extra S1 to cap the TMPRSS1 site. Yes, I know that. Extra hats. What is this effect? To explain exosome and spike circulating in exosome 4 months post-vax. So the one point that exosome carrying spike protein 4 months after the vaccine, I need to check that out. If that is happening, that is a serious thing. And if that is happening, then the previous two discussions will become applicable to vaccine as well. But we should, one thing that I think this is the reason my viewership usually does not skyrocket. And the reason is I balance out things. And there is a very simple balance. The balance is we have billions of doses of vaccine given. We do not have billions of cardiac tissue damages. So that means this may not be as prevalent. One. Similarly, we have millions and millions of people who got SARS-CoV-2. They all do not have cardiac tissue damage. The ones who have the damage, this may be the issue. Now, who will have the damage is not known. So that means there is a serious concern. And I have been saying it from the very beginning that we, medical community, has to figure out what are the possibilities, what can go wrong, and be ready for that. I think that readiness can be informed by these discussions. For example, here is a drug that can help with this situation, and doctors should know that, hey, I can help in this way instead of struggling. So that is the second part. The first part, vaccine spike protein have extra S1 to cap the TMPRSS2 site. Correct. So they vaccine some, I believe, when Doug was discussing, I believe that um, possibly Oxford AstraZeneca does not do it, but others do it, or Pfizer doesn't do it. One of the vaccines do not lock their spike protein, others do. So that locking would help keep the spike protein intact. And from the study point of view, intact spike protein can do it. They do not need it to be cleaved. They simply said, we cleaved it and then tried various parts as well. So that means if spike is going to do this, then the whole spike, locked spike, would do that too. It does not need to be cleaved and opened up. That's a good question. I hope you liked the diagrams today. And if you like the diagrams, please share those videos and like those videos. Okay, so SNC Nutrition says best thing to take for brain fog from COVID-19. So the patients that I have observed here in the US. So my patients, direct patients, I have not encountered a single patient who have developed brain fog. The patients here, my family members who have had brain fog, in their cases, I saw that doctors gave naltrexone. I was not even of this thinking that naltrexone would help, but there are doctors who are giving naltrexone. They are also part of Dr. Bruce Patterson and Dr. Yo's circle, and that is doing magic. So maybe talk, either reach out to Dr. Yo and Dr. Bruce Patterson and see some doctor in their group, or just realize that generally naltrexone may be helpful. Somehow there's a flicker on my camera for some reason. Okay, so what are your plans for tomorrow, the Thanksgiving? What's happening? Please stay safe and happy and healthy, and please don't um, exchange SARS-CoV-2. Give24 says it's like awful. Correct. One of the um, people here, my family member who got the brain fog after the second dose of Pfizer, it took them 4 months. And so the I Recover protocol that helped, then they did one more, it recurred after a couple of weeks, then they did it once more, it didn't help. Then naltrexone with steroids, with fluvoxamine, with statins was a combination that helped. Colin says slightly out of focus. So let's see if I can bring it in focus. How about that? Better. Hemi. Okay, so tell me, there is a question here. BH says, there is an issue going on my machine. Can you hear me correctly? My machine is continuously lagging. So let me just close some of the windows. That might help. So 1 second, please. Okay, so we'll see if this helps or not. So, and there are Jean, Olivera, so very grateful for you, Dr. Bean. Wishing you every blessing this Thanksgiving and always. Thank you very much, and thank you for the super chat, and wishing you blessings and love and care and safety and health as well. I am so grateful that we have been all together for now about 2 years, and I think if we did a study of the incidence of infection or issues within this group, I think you would see that we have been very protected. So I'm very glad that we did this thing together. I never started with this plan, but it just came together. So thank you to everyone for being here, for your presence, for your time, for your attention, for your comments, for your love, for your care, for your support, for your um, helpful messages and everything. So thank you. Now back to the question. BH says, if the spike protein disrupts the blood-brain barrier, and we know ivermectin is dangerously neurotoxic, if it crosses the blood-brain barrier, should we be concerned about using high doses of ivermectin? So if you put them together like this, that hey, if spike protein is going to cause the disruption, and ivermectin can then cause an issue, then you're correct. The thing is this: if spike protein is going to disrupt the blood-brain barrier, we'll have bigger problems because blood-brain barrier is breached. So we will we'll end up in a hospital. Kenny, thank you very much for the super sticker. So Jason says, I'm too poor to send you money right now, but thanks for what you do. Jason, never have I ever asked for or asked that you must send money. So your comment, your care, your love, your prayers, your sweet wish is sufficient. Okay, so question. Sergio says, can ivermectin and colchicine mitigate these CD147 mediated effects? There is an in silico study of ivermectin binding to the spike protein. If that is happening, then there is a possibility of disrupting 4ACE2 and for CD147. Now, colchicine, I don't think, has this mechanism. MZ says if one gets graphene oxide from taking the vaccination, then how do we remove it from the body? I have no idea. I have to do some research on that because this is a very common question. Lisa says, we love you, Dr. Mobeen. Thank you very much and love you back as well. Love you, everyone. So, there was a person who became very intrigued and he was a little closer to me. So, he was able to call and talk over the phone. And he said, so, you do this for money? And I asked him, I said, tell me this. If I asked you that for 22 months, spend from 12 to 8 or 9 in the evening, read, draw, then present, then sometimes even get, you know, little harsh commentary, get complaint, get cancelled, etc. I said, what would you charge to do this? And we ask you to do this every day. And sometimes 2 times, sometimes 3 times. And he said, I won't do it. So I said, I won't do it either. I could only do it if it was not for money, but a genuine desire to serve. Now, that doesn't mean I'm a very saintly person and I just had this huge heart to do it. I actually thought that during this pandemic, we all have to become exceptional. We all have to rise up to do whatever the best we can. And this is why I used to say, once we are beyond the pandemic, we'll go back to being whatever we are. But during this time, I thought that we should have been better. Interestingly, I don't think that this kind of sentiment was matched by many who were in the position for decision making, whose such attitude would have made much better difference than mine. So it was not matched by appropriate authorities who should have done it. But we are once again grateful. We have Dr. Paul Marek, we have Dr. Pierre Corey, we have many other doctors who rose up and started working on this. So this could only be done if there was a actual sincere desire to serve. Nairi says, I'm grateful for you, Dr. Bean. Thank you very much. And I am grateful for you all. Zan Solo says, could SARS-CoV-2 is SARS-CoV manipulated in lab in gain of function virology project to become SARS-CoV-2 possible? This is a discussion that I have had many times before as well. This is something I've not seen. My uncle who raised me, he used to say that if you have not heard something and not seen something with your eyes, then try to research before you believe it. So this is something that I have not seen, and I have not done research on it. There are so many clues that seem like there may be a intervention with this virus, but there is no proof. So I can't say. So AM says, what is the mechanism behind brain fog and tinnitus after first Pfizer? Brain inflamed, avoid second jab, seems like no win situation, infection versus jab. So AM, did you watch that video of Sean? He had exactly the same thing, that after the first jab he developed tinnitus and brain fog, and it only stayed for 10 days, I believe, which encouraged him to go take the second jab. And when he took the second jab, then the issues have still not gone, and it has become really bad for him. Now, what exactly is the issue is still being researched. There is no clear answer for what is happening. And that, I think, is I have harsher words to say. That is a gap in our healthcare approach, that those areas we are leaving them as they are rare. Dude, those things that are not rare, we don't care. So majority of the people are getting vaccinated and we don't care because they're fine. Rare means there is a smaller number of people, we can do a better job with them, we can add more resources to help them instead of ignoring them to say this is rare. So I thought, I you can see that I have a very different picture of how healthcare should be. I thought that resources will be focused on these rare cases, 10 cases, 1,000 cases, 10,000 cases, an X number of cases, smaller cases, not 3 billion cases. That means less resources are needed to help relatively. That means we could put focus on it. If everybody got sick, we'll say, what can we do? And even then, this is not happening. So, it's a difficult thing for me to say why it is happening. The studies that I have looked at, one is that S1 protein at the blood-brain barrier boundary, causing monocyte to continuously be in an active state and releasing cytokines, causing inflammation in the brain tissue or brain blood vessels and surrounding areas. This could also be the case, the parasite and neurological issues, that parasite has the spike protein and that is causing it. But then the question is, how would the spike protein go to the blood brain barrier from a vaccination site? Then the third possibility is the cytokines that are released from the site of the vaccination and from the local lymph nodes. Those are causing this. So there are multiple possibilities. Even neurologists do not have a clear answer yet. So my request will be, watch that video too, discuss with your doctor too, and make sure that when you are approaching the second jab, you have a clear idea of how to approach any side effects. Or more than you, your doctor. Daisy says, I'm thankful to your wonderful channel, your wonderful audience, and the calm, informative info you provided. It helped me a lot in March when I had COVID. Thank you. You're very welcome. Glad that you are good and you are here. Trillium Lane says, hard to trust anyone, but I trust you, Dr. Bean. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Barbara Warren, Lotus, and I are so thankful for your work. Thank you very much. And Luffy and Kyrie and me and my wife and my sons, we are so grateful for everything that has transpired here. James Crooks, thank you very much for the super sticker. Vicky, thank you very much for this, for the super chat. So AM, look at I Recover protocol. Plus, I had done a video about brain fog and tinnitus and others. Watch that video as well. Watch the video with Sean as well. And what I saw with brain fog, the solution. So without knowing exact pathology, the solution that I saw, one, I Recover protocol worked very well. Second, when that did not work well, then Dr. Bruce Patterson's work and his team's protocol of adding statins, naltrexone, steroid was my part of the protocol, and then fluvoxamine, that was my part as well, and then very sparingly Maraviroc. But these four, fluvoxamine, steroids, naltrexone, and statins, they have been really helpful. And again, this is not an advice for anyone. Please realize I'm just talking information, education. You take these messages, sit down with your doctor, see how they can help you. And if your doctor is not very well informed, then reach out to Dr. Bruce Patterson's group, and they have folks who know how to manage this. So Carol Wall says, "Do you have coffee mugs or other merchandise available on Amazon? Us sending love from Fort Knox, Kentucky." So number one, thank you very much. Love back to you as well. I have some merchandise on Spring. I did not know that the ivermectin man and those things, they were automatically removed. So merchandise really just became, there are mugs and other things. Let me quickly show you. But they are now mostly just Dr. Bean. I did not know. I found out one day that they had just removed some of the things. So let me um, show you. So if I bring it here, this is the, if you search for Teespring Dr. Bean, you would see this site. And here I believe in apparel and, or apparel. And then there are accessories, face masks, hats, fonts, stickers, bags. The question is, are there mugs? Yeah. What is on the mug? So Luffy's on the mug and Dr. Bean. They have removed the ivermectin and those things. There is this one which is kind of a hidden one. They don't know what it is. This is why it is not removed. This is the ivermectin as well. So uh, you could look that up. And thank you very much, Michael. Thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving back to you as well. Barbara says, "I'm so glad that I got it." Yes, because a few days ago somebody said I wanted to buy it and it's gone. They just removed it. They didn't. Other people or the channels or agencies that are canceling me, they tell me, "We got a complaint about you. We're gonna cancel you." They just removed it. There was no discussion. There is a couple on Twitter who are very much upset with me. They are the ones who are actively um, doing this, complaints. Oh well, that's just life. Chrissy, thank you very much. Michael, thank you very much. I'm just trying to see if I missed any question. Dream Reader. Have you come across any information on people who are on medications such as IV and hydroxy when they become infected with COVID and not show a positive PCR test yet? Symptomatic. No. This seems like the test may need to be repeated if they're symptomatic. Now, it is possible that they actually don't have COVID, they have some other common cold. And so the symptom might be of COVID, but test would be negative. Barbara says, "I think many of us here were very naive at the beginning of the pandemic." We were all in the same boat. Trillium Lane says, "There are so many people injured." Agreed. My point is something else. So hear me out once more. Imagine I'm a healthcare leadership uh, person, a leader, healthcare leader, administrator, someone, manager of some big organization, or um, a vaccine company's manager. Somebody says there are these side effects. I say, well, these are rare. So that is a message, correct? Now, the message back to me should be, fine, you say they are rare. That means it is easier to manage them. That means they are less in number. Go take care of them, acknowledge them. They are less. You are saying they are rare. put money behind this, give them insurance, give them your attention, create a small department. You say they're rare, create a small department that interact with them, that take their histories, create a set of doctors that are dedicated for this, do research on this. Rare means they're less, so you give more money to this because that money would be less as well. We don't have too many of them, as you say. This is what I will say. That if it is rare, then it should be easier to manage instead of ignore. What is happening today is that the message comes this way: this is rare situation, be aware, and that's it. Rare should also mean, hey, pay attention to this. It's going to be easy to pay attention to this. So there is a question here that is about a person's themselves. I cannot answer questions that are personal question and medical advice. Anthony DeStefano says, is it possible fragments of spike protein from vaccine in blood could test positive in PCR? No. PCR tests only the genetic material. It does not look at the structure, because that is what PCR is. PCR is a mechanism to amplify genetic material and make it large enough in quantity to then look into it and say what kind of genetic material is that. So spike protein is not genetic material, it cannot be amplified. And because of that, PCR does not detect these things. Hemi says, does anyone else find it strange that now we say a cold has COVID like symptoms, where at the start we could have said COVID has cold like symptoms? Yes, Hemi, we can say it that way too. Good point. Hemi is a good friend. Svetlana says, can adding loofy back after a person recovered from COVID and had a negative PCR help with bone pains and bad bouts with arrhythmias? I think the basic question is what is causing it. So, if the cause is something related to the virus and inflammation, then it can help. Embol says, deny, 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 it wasn't us. SK says, does serrapeptase help break down spike protein? I have not heard of them. I know that proteases break proteins and spike protein would be broken down as well, but usually phagocytosed and broken down. I don't know if external serrapeptases can do that. Sasha Ann says, is there any reason to stop taking daily ivermectin based on the new study you reviewed due to blood-brain barrier damage? Sorry if you already answered this. So we talked about this before. If somebody is going to have a blood-brain barrier damage, they're not going to be worried about ivermectin anymore because they would be in the hospital. Most of the time, blood-brain barrier disruption is a serious outcome. It's like a stroke. It's a serious thing. Xan says, can ivermectin prevent death from COVID if it was taken just during the infection? Don't know. So this is a very important question, that can it prevent death? No idea. Because the studies that have been out there, they have shown reduction in intensity, reduction in hospitalization. But I don't know if there is any study that say, although there are some studies that claim to say it, but there is not enough sufficient data to say prevent death or not. It has been very helpful though. This is a very good question. Here's a question, Dr. Bean. My cat had a cat cold or flu, and my veterinarian prescribed lysine tablets. Does lysine help or assist a little in boosting immune system? Lysine sort of. Lysine is usually what I understand is that it helps liquefy some of the phlegm and those congestions that are forming. So it doesn't help really just with the or with the immune system, but in fact helps with the symptoms. Siddhartha says spike protein used in the mRNA vaccines is in the prefusion conformation. Would that have the same effect on vasculature as you described today? Yes. So this was a question asked a few minutes ago as well. Yes. So they did not say that the spike protein had to be cleaved into S1 and S2. So I read that because I was curious as well. They cleaved it to test it, but it is just a spike protein. Good question. And I hope you're doing well, Siddhartha. Car99 says, is the elderly population more prepared to take vaccine because they're on statins to begin with? I don't know if elderly think in that way to say, hey, I'm on statin so I can take it. I think uh, because I'm reaching in this age as well, which is at risk age, it is just that, hey, how do I protect myself? And vaccine is one way. So am I taking something that would help me or not is different. How do I protect myself? There is a saving grace though, I think, and I may be wrong, and that is as we continue to age further, our immune cells' robustness of response reduces. That might reduce some of the side effects. But we are seeing cytokine storms in elderly as well, which is a very robust immune response. Yeah, there is a problem with the cameras. Hemi, you said that camera was not properly. So what happened was the cleaning crew came in and they put the camera there and they put everything away, and the whole thing is look at the background here as well. It's not the best. So I'll set it up again. Gigi says, could you cover the Canadian whistleblower at the Lionsgate Hospital? Oh, I did not know that there is someone there. Let me write it down. So, what are your big plans for tomorrow? Are you going to your uh, parents or friends, or are folks coming over, or are you by yourself? Everyone, what are your plans? And I'm just meanwhile gonna write this. Note taken. DDS says tiny duck mouse. So for anyone who is curious, this is the mouse. Although Avox Mokabeen had asked me to buy that mouse, dolphin mouse, Mokabeen, I still haven't bought it. So this is the one. And so when I move this one, this is what creates the sound. And when I put it on the table and do it, it creates even more. OPME says, sad to hear about Dr. Marek. He's an honorable man. Hope Amy, other mad people, and join him in support. Absolutely. And I think he still has a win, and that is they did not dismiss the case. They are still going to a trial, and the judge is going to hear out. So there is a chance. So OPME says, why did you take the vax jab? Was it Pfizer or Astra? So I took it because I was waiting for it. I was last year I was saying that once the vaccines are there, I'm going to take a vaccine. And I was so enamored by the messenger RNA based vaccines. I wanted to take that. Moderna was at one point my favorite. Then Novavax became my favorite. Novavax is just too slow. So Moderna became available. So I had Moderna. My sons, who are also adults, I have Moderna. My older son had Pfizer. Younger son has Moderna, and my wife has Johnson and Johnson. Now, this question why I believe in vaccines and I wanted to have that protection. Although there is a lot of we're seeing side effects, so this could have happened that the things that happened to Sean could have happened to me too. So I'm not saying that I was not aware, but it's just that I think we are all stuck in a very strange situation. We have to make a decision. On one end, the decision could be that no, I don't want to have a vaccine, and then go through all the uh, societal uh, issues of passports and travel and job and those, plus risk of the virus itself. So I'm seeing people handling that in various ways. For example, some folks are just saying there is no virus, or some are saying, well, if even if there is a virus, it's not going to be very harmful, and so on. So everyone has a different way of figuring out what their decision is and justifying their decision. Sarah Victoria says, question: Novavax is a protein subunit vaccine, correct? Yes. Not genetic, more traditional? Yes. Would you please explain a bit about protein subunit vaccines? Absolutely. So, one, please watch the video about Novavax that I've done. I have actually done so many videos about Novavax. If you go here, you will love this vaccine, Novavax. So if you just check this out. So so this is a talk about Novavax, and then I have a number of talks about Novavax. So check them out. Generally, the way they have made it is that it is not made in human embryos, cells, copies. So that is one good thing. For some people, it is important. They have made it in insect cells too, which is fine. The vaccine itself is a subprotein. That means part of the virus, which is the spike protein. And these spike proteins, just like edible arrangements, they are stuck together in a to form a lipid nanoparticle like size of SARS-CoV-2 like size, but this is nothing but just the spike proteins. And then when it is injected, and they have a matrix M adjuvant, which they say is natural and is useful, although there have been some concerns about that adjuvant. And what they say is when it is injected, it will be picked up by the immune cells because it is not a lipid nanoparticle. It is not going to go into any cell randomly. It will be picked up by immune cells, macrophages, dendritic cells, monocytes, and they would then break it up and present it to the immune system, and immune system would then be trained. It's a good vaccine. I like it. Lonnie Fellerson says, thank you. You have given a helpful information and hope through this challenging time. Thank you for all your contribution towards facilitating communication of knowledge to medical and non-medical people. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Thank you very much for being here, working together to keep ourselves protected. And thank you for the super chat. Edible arrangement, not edible underwear. Edible arrangements, there are those fruits on it. So imagine there's a tiny ball on which um, the spike proteins are attached. Sorry, my accent did that. So CEB says Dr. Pierre Corey is reading a new book by Robert Kennedy, The Real Anthony Fauci, per his Twitter posts. He's finding it an enlightening but disturbing read. Have you read it or plan to? So Dr. Marek sent it to me. I haven't gotten a chance to read it yet. So as you can tell, my job daily is to, one, in the morning do the business. And business nowadays, this couple who has been going around complaining, they have caused a lot of issues. So business, majority of the time, just looking at those issues, figuring it out, and moving forward. And then after 12 o'clock, uh, these readings. And when I become free from here, I'll take dinner, and then I'll just go to sleep. So I get time over the weekend, but over the weekend I become very um, protective of the time to use it for painting or other things with my family, going out together, going to San Francisco or things like that, to kind of make sure that I am relaxed and recharged. So when the weekend comes around, I'm there. But I have the book, and I would look into it. The Shri says, "Good morning. After a long time, I joined Chit Chat. Thank you, sir, for your lectures. You're very welcome. Thank you very much for joining." Barbara says, "I wouldn't want their karma." Um, the DC Online says, "Boosters, why are they focusing only on antibody titers and not immune memory, mainly to reduce transmission? Seems like if they only care about antibody levels, just use monoclonals for boosters." Monoclonal as a booster will not work. Although I wanted to discuss this, AstraZeneca says that their monoclonal antibody can last for 5 months or more, just as if the vaccine provides protection for 5 months. So they said that monoclonal antibody does the same thing. So that I wanted to discuss that and see what their technology is and how do they modify the monoclonal. Normally, antibodies that are produced in our body, natural antibodies, usually get destroyed or removed within 3 4 weeks or even earlier. The modified antibodies that are given usually can last up to 2 months. But AstraZeneca says that their antibodies can go up to 5 months or more. So that is very, very interesting. Sorry. Rizwan Ali says, "Love your work. Can you please give some advice for pericarditis? I had the first dose around 8 days ago and been having chest pain. My family doctor said it might be pericarditis." So, did you ask them to do the workup, cardiac enzymes, chest X-ray, whatever else they want to? I mean, they they should pay attention to it and look at the labs. There is a question and says, "Are there any benefits to mix matching vaccine brands?" They actually saw that mixing and matching actually causes more immunity, more protection, or more intense response when mix and match is done. Gift24 says, "Will Luffy sing the national anthem?" Absolutely. So, Luffy has totally developed a new habit. He has become such a, as my son says, spoiled child. uh, 2 o'clock at night, like clockwork, he wakes up. He sleeps in my room. 2 o'clock, he wakes up. He goes down to the door and starts meowing loudly. You have heard his meows, right? His songs. So if I or someone else does not wake up and let him out at 2 o'clock at night, he would just keep howling. So most of the time, it is me. So I wake up before I hope that somebody else wakes up. So I go down and I quickly open the door for him. He goes out. Then, about an hour or hour and a half later, he comes back. And then he starts howling from outside to say, "Now bring me back in." So I have to wait for him to come back, and then he comes back, and by that time my sleep is gone. So I am usually awake since 2 o'clock. You can actually see that in last 1 week or so. You might see me tired when I'm at the time of lecture because I'm waking since 2 a.m. Last night he was kind enough to wake up at 4 instead of 2 o'clock. So that is his new habit. I wish that we can make him a cat door. The problem is when Kyrie goes out in the evening, she loses her way. She does not come back. So we have to go find her. And so I don't know why Kyrie doesn't work very well with the dark. So she doesn't come in. So we don't want to put a door which allows Kyrie to get out as well. So that is what's happening with Luffy. So Luffy was out a few, and then when he comes back, nowadays it's cold. Then he just wants to eat something and sleep. So today, just before this talk, um, at 6 o'clock, he had gone out. So after the first talk was finished, he was howling outside. So I went and brought him in, and now he's sleeping somewhere. Rostra says, your cat has trained you well. Absolutely. He knows that I'm going to howl and they are going to work. So JP, JSR, yeah, both have the GPS trackers. Plus, they both are chipped as well. But still, she just disappears. So last time she went to our neighbor's house and hid somewhere in a corner, and we just had to ask our neighbors to allow us to come and find her, and it was fun. She was trying to make friends for us. Skyfrog is here. Skyfrog, I did not see the picture. I looked at Discord. Is there a case for taking a booster for 3 months? Yes. If the person who took first or second jab and did not develop enough immunity. Now, there must be a reason for not developing enough immunity. For example, they are too frail or their immune system is known to be not in a correct working order. For example, somebody with the immunosuppressants or organ transplants or cancers or chemotherapies or such other cases. If it is a healthy person who has taken the two jabs and they do not see the antibodies, and then they say, the doctor says, you know what, there should be a third jab. I basically think that for a healthy person who can handle other infections well, this may not be that it's the antibody is not an indication of no response, but it may be that their innate arm is doing very well and their cytotoxic arm is doing very well. So having a booster in that case may not be necessary. So it depends upon the person's status, immune status. So Denise says he's a house cat. Why are you letting them outside? So remember, he used to howl a lot, and then he started peeing inside because he would see the other animals. So we took him to his vet. She vaccinated him. She gave him medicines and whatever is necessary to make him able to go out as well. So he's a Bengal cat. So veterinary, her his vet said that most commonly for Bengals, they're just taken away by other people because they're just very precious and they're beautiful exotic cats. So far nobody has taken him. I think they have. Luffy has become notorious for his howls, but that is he is all vaccinated and prepared. Gift says give Luffy a hot chocolate. Okay. Dr. Bean is a cat door. Yeah, but how would I stop Kyrie? That is a problem. Ornella says, I think this conversation is not what I thought it would be. These spike proteins and what is going on in the world is very concerning. That's true. Dr. Z is here, checking in late. So glad you're all still here. I'm grateful for Dr. Bean this year and all of you. And we are grateful to you and your talk and your presence and um, everything. Thank you very much. Oh, alive in heels. Dr. Bean, we need that chart, please, please, and how to more safely wax, what to do to pick the best wax and do. Yes. So, how about we spend this Thanksgiving and then alive in heels, Rima? We work on it next week. I'm gonna now that also brings up this point that is it okay if I take tomorrow and day after off and then it is Saturday, Sunday anyways? So that would make 4 days. If you're okay with that, I'll take 4 days off. Alive in Heel says, I guess Luffy sings like me. So here is a joke. Again, I'm going to translate it from my language, so I don't know how well it would work. So there was a person who was singing or practicing his singing, and he used to practice at some time every day, some set time. So one day he was practicing, and then he became silent. So his wife came over and she said, you usually practice at this time. Why did you go quiet? He said, well, somebody threw a shoe inside. So the wife said, well, keep singing. They might send the other shoe as well. So Luffy might have us lots of shoes. JP Jesark says, can full length spike protein from Novavax enter the cell and the nucleus? No. From mechanism. No, because it is a. Let me share my screen and I will discuss. So, this protein, Novavax, is basically a bunch of spike proteins strung together in the form of a ball, right? So, this is what they are. And the size of this ball is about the size of SARS-CoV-2. Now, this ball, the spiky ball, cannot willy nilly enter cells. It just cannot get into the cells. Because if you want it to get into the cells, then it has to be wrapped in a lipid nanoparticle. The second problem is lipid nanoparticle usually takes a tiny piece of messenger RNA. Now, having this whole spiky big ball to be wrapped in a nanoparticle is not going to be easy. So it is injected here. So many of these balls are injected. These are picked up by macrophages and neutrophils. So macrophage would come over and macrophage would say, whoa, what is this? So let's see. Macrophage would kind of make this expression and say, oh, wow, what is this? I don't like this. And macrophage has those tall-like receptors and PAMPs and DAMPs, pattern matching receptors, and damage-associated molecular pattern matching receptors, and so on. So macrophages have receptors on them that help them catch any foreign material. So they would look at it and they would phagocytose it. That means they would bring it into a vesicle, and then that would come in. Then the macrophage would fuse that phagocyte in which these spike proteins are trapped with a lysosome, which is the uh, acidic enzymes. Imagine these cells have their own tiny microscopic stomachs, and the stomach acids are put separately. And when this tiny foreign material is brought in, then it is fused with the stomach acids, and that is how acids are released on that protein, which then breaks it down, which then causes the loading of MHC2 and 1, and that is how it is presented, and that is how the remaining immune system works. So to answer your question, in theory, this should not happen. That's the expression. Actually, macrophage make this expression and they say, and then they would pick it up. Majeen says, how come there is no focus on nutrition in recommendations? I have done so many discussions. There's a video I did because nutrition is important, and or having balanced nutrition is important. So there is a video I had done, a food plate your immune, something like this, a food plate for a strong immune system. So check this out. So this is about the nutrition. It's July 11, 2020. So almost more than a year, although not a lot of people watched it, but still there is a lot of information about better healthy nutrition um, for uh, for better immune system. Celtic says, Thanksgiving quick. Next week, could you discuss the effect of microbiome on C19 and Dr. Hazen's study? Thank you. Okay, so let me see. I had actually reached out to microbiome and Dr. Hazen's study. Okay, notes taken. Okay to let go has a question. Is there a nutritional support for elder declining T cells? I've heard that they do decline. So the decline of the immune system cells or senescence is usually because of other issues. For example, the telomeres becoming smaller or the proteins not getting formed correctly. So I am not an expert in that area, so I do not have an answer, but this is an interesting area to actually explore. So maybe we should add some talks about. I was thinking about, we've been talking about it, diabetes, hypertension, cancers, geriatrics, and how to have a healthy lifestyle in older age, which I am curious for myself as well, that as I am aging, what is a better way of living? So maybe it is interesting for more folks too. Kira Shrem says, I've been texting with Aaron Courtney, Dr. Damelo's patient you interviewed. He thinks ivermectin not successful totally because IL-6 ramped up. Any ideas of potent IL-6 inhibitors for home use? If no, a monoclonal? No idea. I don't even know why he has that idea, and I don't know how to help this. You're very welcome. Okay to let go. Doug says, what time zone you're in? Pacific time zone. So Radmila says, have you heard about the new variant in Japan? They say it has a mutation that disrupts multiplication of the virus. This happens all the time. I have been saying it from the very beginning. There are three types of mutations. One mutation where daughter cell or daughter particle is as closely matched to the parent as possible. Then a mutation where the daughter is not as competent as parent, and then mutation where daughter is more competent than the parent. So less competent mutations are also possible. The question will be, could we have less competent mutations that can become dominant? It is usually difficult for less competent mutations to become dominant because they just cannot progress and they cannot spread. In case of SARS-CoV-2, though, if the competence is reduced on the lethality side, but competence is sustained on the spread side, contagiousness side, then that would be useful. But I do not see how that can happen because the SARS-CoV-2's spike protein is the one that gives us the capability to attach, and that is the one that primarily gives it the pathological or the poisonous effects. So if the spike protein changes enough downwardsly, that it cannot cause enough pathology, then it would not bind enough as well. So these kind of mutations occur all the time. Alive in his says, DDS, do you remember the dude science expression? Uh, Absolutely. So this is eventually what's going to happen. Eventually, SARS-CoV-2 is going to become more friendly to us. And how would it become friendly? It would have to downgrade its lethality and learn to live with us. This is so DDS is pooping in his living room and fancy pants. So the folks who were pooping in my living room and I threw them out, they are still insisting that we have to poop and we have to poop in this living room and we insist that you leave it in here. So they are continuing to do what they can to make sure that their poop is respected. Um, Mrs. Mark says, new to your channel, this question may have already been answered, but has it been verified that vaccinated people cannot shed virus? Thanks. So I don't think it can. Number one, I don't think it will not happen that vaccinated people will not shed. That, let me back up. Let me explain this. And then, where did the question go? So here, we'll put the question here, and then let's just very quickly look at the answer. So let's say we have a person. Here is a person, and this person they are do you know in the drawing they say that the hands should be at a place, or the arms should be long enough for the cartoon that they can comfortably hide their private parts. So I was going to actually draw these over here, and then I thought he cannot cover his private parts with that length, so then I corrected it. Okay, so let's say this is a person. Now this person, give him an ear as well and some fun expression. Now imagine that this person has just gotten infection, right? So exposure today. When the exposure occurs today, it is possible that they are not shedding. So let's say exposure is here and then shedding is here. Exposure happened today, they will not be shedding, correct? Because they just don't have enough viral quantity. Then the virus would start to increase, replicate. And so delta we know replicates faster, its parents or early generations were replicating slow. And previously was said that Wuhan virus version, that would become enough in number that it would start creating symptoms. Symptoms appearance means that there is enough virus load, that it is causing enough damage that we are getting symptoms. The disease has occurred. When the virus is present in our body, we say we are infected. But when virus causes symptoms, we say we have a disease now, and there is COVID, for example. So now for Wuhan, it was fifth day that the symptom would usually mean was fifth day. And it was seen in a study that 2 days before, the viral load was sufficient that even if the person doesn't have symptoms, they are shedding. So they are shedding here, positive. So for Delta, I would reduce that time from 5 days to, let's say, 3 days, and they're shedding 1 day or 2 days ago, or maybe even on the same day, because Delta is faster in contagious, more, it has a higher affinity for the AS2. So now they're shedding. Then what happens is our body would start making antibodies. So here we should make antibodies or immune response. So as the immune response starts picking up and we start making IgM and IgG, then these things would go and start mopping up the virus and start removing it. And that now virus is increasing by replicating in the cells, and our immune system is wiping it away as well. So there would be positive shedding through this time as well, and then slowly this shedding would start reducing. And our antibodies and immune response would start increasing. This would start reducing, and at some point, there will be no more virus to be shed. Good. Now, during this time, if the person gets more exposure to the virus, another person comes near him or her and they are also shedding, would this person have any response? No, because they themselves have the virus. No newer virus would not do much unless it is a different variant, strain, whatever. So let's not go into those nuances. Okay, so now going back to this question, somebody who is vaccinated, the person who is vaccinated has a similar behavior. The only thing is vaccine is not replicating like a virus does, right? Vaccine is a tiny amount. It's not a complete virus. It would not replicate forever. So that would be there for some time. During that time, immune system is going to start ramping up. So imagine if I got vaccinated today here and I got infected here as well. Now, vaccine has not brought up the immune system to a point that it can wipe out the virus. So if I get exposed, then within a couple of days, even despite the vaccine, I would start shedding. Now, if it is the first dose, then I would continue to shed until my body takes care of the virus. That is, I'm legitimately infected and I have the signs and symptoms. I have a disease as well. Then let's say somewhere here, the vaccine goes down and then the second dose is given. When the second dose is given, once again, the immune system would ramp up. If the immune system is ramped up and the person becomes infected, then they would not shed because IgA is present and the B cells are present and T cells are present and system is just ready. And as the virus lands, it captures it and beats it. So no shedding. However, imagine me. I have been vaccinated and that was in May. So many months are gone. And let's say my immune system is now settled. It is rested. So there is not enough antibodies in the system. There is not enough IgA. If I get infection here now, for a few days, my immune system would take time to ramp up. The memory cells would need to become triggered. They would need to realize that the virus is in here. They would only get to know that when the virus would increase enough in number to go and trigger them. And once they are triggered, then they would start increasing in number, and then they would start making cytokines, and then they'll start making the antibodies. And it takes about from 10 hours to 48 hours for the immune system to become active. But virus is already active. So it is possible that during this time, I would have enough load of virus developed that I would be shedding and I might even get symptoms. And then my immune system would wake up, become ready, and take care of it. Now imagine if this is someone who may not have a healthy immune system. So they may take more time to get their immune system back up. So as long as that is happening, they may still be shedding. So that means it is, in my opinion, impossible for us to say that vaccine should guarantee no shedding. It really is the person's immune system state. If they are in the ramped up state by infection or vaccine, then they would probably not shed. Ramped up of the immune system. But if they are in a rested state, then it is possible that they would shed. So hopefully that answers that question. So Brenda Elliott says, is ivermectin as a prophylaxis safe to take once a week for a year? So there are many folks. The biggest example is Dr. Pierre Corey, who's been taking it for a year. Alive in Heal says, my device wants you to morph into Dr. Oz. Oz. Yeah, US is not doing very well. So Gift 24 says shedding like a low budget fur coat. So how about we stop for today? Are you, there is a question, I'll answer that question. Are you comfortable if I take tomorrow and day after off? Hamill says, Hemi, has anyone done a study where the virus ranks compared to other pathogenic microbes currently in the population? Is it grossly overrated now? I haven't seen such a study. Interesting question. Skyfrog says, have a you too, and I want to see the engine's picture if you would like to share it. Linux says, I guess we'll allow you to take a day off. Thank you very much. 2 days off, and then the weekend, so 4 days. Alive in Hill says, please take it off. You deserve it. So we appreciate you. Thank you so much. And Mrs. Marks says, apologies, I should be more specific. Can the vaccine itself cause viral shedding? Thank you. No. Vaccine does not make a virus. Vaccine does not cause spike shedding or viral shedding or any shedding. And I have done this discussion in detail in the past that there is no way for something to shed. I'm assuming that we mean respiratory shedding. For something to shed from our nose and mouth, we have to have it in here. And when the vaccine is given, the spike proteins are in the deltoid and they cannot reach here and come all the way to the wet part of our surfaces, the mucous surfaces. The things that go in our saliva or the wet surfaces are very well controlled. They are produced by the cells and they are secreted in there. There is a huge control on these things. If things would just willy-nilly appear here, which you might see, some drugs can give you a bad taste even afterwards, because some folks are called secretors, and some drugs can actually end up in their cells from where they can be secreted. But for a vaccine to make a spike protein that can end up as a secretor mechanism into a cell and then be secreted is impossible. So there's a question, a moment in life. Please, any word about Novavax can be accepted to be used in the US and how is the impact Novavax to people with tinnitus? So hopefully December is when they said by December we'll be ready to submit. So we'll see. December is around the corner. Now, I haven't seen any tinnitus related issues in their data, but only once they have given their data to FDA and we can look at their debrief document that we would know more. So there is a comment here. He says you cannot vaccinate your way out of the pandemic with a leaky vaccine. That actually, the point first is to say the leaky vaccine. There is no leaky vaccine here. These vaccines are doing their work, and the infections are doing their work as well. It is sad, just like people say that vaccines are leaky, which they're not. It is also sad on the flip side that administrations do not agree that infections have given immunity. So we are getting our way out of this pandemic. There is no new variant so far, fingers crossed, and infections are hospitalizations, deaths are reducing. The persons can be still be infected because it's a respiratory virus. There is going to be the person who says leaky vaccine. Ask them what is their mechanism to help us out. I know that person and I know their mechanism. They have two proposals. One is to say, let everyone become infected. That people who become infected can become reinfected as well. We would actually have a, um, anyways. The second part is that they say there should be vaccines to ramp up the innate arm of the immune system. That ramping up is, if that was possible, they would have already made that vaccine. So we should be fortunate that we don't have leaky vaccines. We should not be sitting here waiting for the vaccines to be leaky. We are fortunate, we are lucky that these are not leaky vaccines. These vaccines have their own issues because they're new. Plus, there is a bunch of uh, greed by the vaccine companies to keep saying they're not working, they're waning, and go get the boosters, which actually I had shared this. If you look at microbiology book, I can actually very quickly bring that book up. Fourth month, even before this book was written before the pandemic, and in that book they discuss that the vaccines. So I'm going to bring this book here and share my screen. So this is the book, its name, if I can go to its cover, title page. It is Cellular and Molecular Immunology by Abul K. Abbas, Andrew H. Lightman, and Shiv Pillai. Beautiful book. Now if I go back to this one, I believe I had shown this one here, that if you see this, antigen recognition, this is a book written in 2019 before the pandemic. And if you see here, antigen recognition occurs by the immune system, see 0 days, and then lymphocyte become activated, that is T cell and B cells. Then antigen is eliminated, then contraction and hemostasis, that is the cells that are not needed anymore because antigen is gone, they are removed. And if you see here, this waning occurs. This is a regular thing. They have a graph in the book. If this was an exceptional thing, they would not put it like this. And then the memory would be formed. And do you see here? It says apoptosis. So those cells that were active and working, they die. So I think that there is a mixture of truth and stretched truth to say that the vaccines are not working correctly or they are waning rapidly. Waning does occur. So I think because of those stretched truths, the actual truth has become disappeared. We actually don't know really what is happening. So, anyways, uh, so let's stop for today. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Enjoy your day, and I'll see you on Monday. I'm going to have 4 days off. So, and please do me a favor. Please like, subscribe, and share. And if you would like to support this work, there are links in the description. You can buy me a coffee, or you can become a patron, or you can use PayPal. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on Monday. Happy Thanksgiving.